Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Stuart Davis, a flawed man of God. It is Tuesday evening, and I'm still a little salty about the recent Reds transactions, but that's not going to get ahead of what we're going to talk about tonight because we're not gonna perseverate over my grievances. In this case, my minor grievances. We are going to focus on getting back into the Word. Who am I to tell you about this? I'm a nobody. I'm a deacon at a small church outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I am here to do is talk about Christ, talk about my my thoughts and feelings, impressions, my life as a what I would consider regular everyday Christian. Been one all my life. Never not believed that I can remember. And so I'm here in case you are interested in um, starting a relationship with Christ. If you're interested in learning more about it, if you are looking for more than what this life has to offer, then welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you. Please stick around, ask me questions, give me your thoughts and impressions as we go through and discuss these different topics that we will on this program. This program is basically centered around all things Christian, and how even regular everyday occurrences, current events, historical events, whatever, have impacted us, the Christian faith, Christianity, and us people just trying to live each day closer to Christ. Good morning, Mr. Bongers. How are you doing this evening? Or uh, I'm assuming, Mister. Right. Glad to have you here. Anyways, but yeah, what you're going to get here is somebody. I'm not tied to any denomination or any specific doctrine. I'm just in the Bible, just in the Word, giving my thoughts and reactions as we go through this. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about. We're going to be discussing numbers. We've been in numbers, reading through it for the past. We've been in numbers for the last 16 chapters, and now we're going to get back into it. So we had some action going on, and some things to talk about, uh, going into or finishing up and wrapping up with chapter 16. And if I remember correctly, um, yeah, we just had some serious smackdown levied by God onto some of the Israelites who were getting a little uppity, getting a little bit too big for their britches, and getting a little rebellious. God don't like that. You know, the last time that there was a rebellion didn't go so well for the guy, and you know, it caused a lot of consternation on this planet. So God's not putting up with it. And but tonight we're going to be getting back into some procedures, and I'm just kind of look. This stuff is important. It is difficult to do a read through with it, though. It's stuff that you want to study. It's stuff that you want to understand, because this is laying the foundations of what the Israelites create with their, with or what God creates for the Israelites as they are forming their society, and what will ultimately lead to Christ's arrival and the new covenant. But it's a bit dry. It's very dry. So if you're hanging in there, I appreciate it. But again, there's stuff in here that maybe there's always something in there that's interesting. Um, Sometimes you really got to root around for it, and I don't really spend that much time. But if something strikes you, if you're in the chat, like Mr. Fig Newton here, um, if you're in the chat and something strikes you and you don't think I caught it, or you disagree with something I say, by all means, let me know. I will. We can talk about it. I don't mind. We have a very, a very light chat at this moment, and I know I'm up for talking about. I'm all up to talking about God. Twitter. I was on Twitter today, kind of venting my frustrations about the Reds, in a very, very public and very outspoken fashion. However, there was also there's a bit of a dust up going on right now with a gentleman. I think he's a Lutheran. He's got some pretty good takes on things. Um, His name is Dr. Jordan Cooper, Jordan B. Cooper, not to be confused with Dr. Jordan Peterson. Jordan B. Cooper. He made a comment about Leviticus in the Old Testament and what it was about. And yeah, the poor Reds. Like literally, if you're the owner, he's saying he's talking about how poor he is, the poorest NFL baseball owner in the MLB. But with Jordan Cooper, he goes out here and he makes the statement. It's meant for people in Christian theological surveys or circles, and somebody grabs a hold of it, and because it's Twitter, right? Because it's Twitter, they get offended by it, and now it's apparently this big anti-Semitic thing. And then so all the weirdos and all the easily offended folks, the outrage culture subscribers, they're all out there talking about, oh, this is anti. It's nothing, literally nothing to do with. Well, he's not talking about Jewish people in it. Now it relates indirectly because it's about Christianity, which is founded on the Jewish faith. However, he's not talking. He's not making any slams, slurs. He's not maligning them in any way. But that's how it is. The people who want to be offended, people who want to cast doubt on somebody's and disregard somebody's words will immediately run to whatever the easiest path is to doing so. In this case, they like to say, call him an anti-Semite. He's not anti-Semite. He's not anti-Semitical or Semitic. His tweets weren't anti-Semitic, but they're all out there. So I'm making some comments too, like none of this has anything to do with it, and everybody wants to talk about how Christians are judgmental. Okay, yeah, that's true. We are judgmental. It is a fault. That is something that we struggle with. But guess what? So does everybody else. This is that kind of thing. This is what I like to say. We have to draw when you make a criticism, you have to make sure that the criticism you're making doesn't apply to literally everything. And yeah, big same place. I'm drawn to it because I'm a naturally argumentative person. I'm a wordy person. I like to go out there and put stuff down, put pen to paper, so to speak, and go out there and engage because I like conversing. That's one of the reasons I like doing this show so much. So I'm putting my thoughts out there for anybody who is interested to listen to. And if there's somebody who wants to talk about it, I love conversations with people. It's fulfilling. But the idea that social media can bring out the worst of us, and there are some people in there some people on social media who are just hell bent on being a victim, and hell bent on trying to shut other people up. They go out there specifically looking for people to disagree with, and that's why I hate it. That's why I don't want a social media account. That's why I was so happy when I was off social media. But again, doing it, trying to maybe at some point, if the show takes off, gets to the point where I've got plenty of outreach, and it's kind of just snowballing on its own, and other people are sharing it. Maybe I won't need it anymore. I'm not going to count on that anytime. That would be a hope. That would be a nice thing that I could rely on everybody else having a social media account. But if you are interested in seeing what goes on and following me on social media, it is very easy. You can like and subscribe to me here on YouTube. You can like and subscribe on Rumble, which was working today. Thankfully, it's been a little dicey. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, Flawed Man of God, across the board, all different outlets. I'm streaming on all different outlets as well. Reach out to me, be part of this, and share it with anybody else that you think might need to hear it or might want to hear it. Because that's what this is all about. Just getting exposure, getting the word out there to people if they want to hear it. This way I can avoid the awkwardness and the just nerve-wracking element of trying to figure out how to reach people about the good news of Christ. It's It's a weird thing, right? You go up and talk to somebody about it, you can feel it in the air. It immediately gets awkward. It's different when somebody else brings it up because they know you're a Christian. They're asking you genuine questions, and they're not coming from a gotcha perspective, but just the whole. So, what do you think about God? If it comes from them, that's fine. But if it comes from me, if I'm coming up there, it's like, so what do you think about God? And people know where I stand on things. I'm not shy about it, but immediately it's just like, well, and you can think, when is he's going to invite me to his church? He's going to want me to talk about. He's going to talk to me about salvation and everything. And you can just see it tenseness. I hate that. I don't like making people feel that way. So that was the answer. Was this show to go out there and say, hey, this is what I think. These are my words. These are what's going out there. And if you like it, listen. If you don't like it, hate listen. Hate listen. Um, but it's here if you want it. And then also to give a place for people to talk about Christ, where we can share ideas and thoughts and bring people on of the different denominations and talk about it, because I think that there's a healing that needs to take place between denominations, um, between the Protestants, all the Protestant denominations, because you can see it from the Lutherans to the Evangelicals, to the Charismatics. All the denominations in there all seem to have an axe to grind with the other one. And I don't like that. I don't think that's not what God wants from us. He wants us working together. Yeah, we might have some philosophical differences. We might have um, doctrinal differences. We might have some dogma in there, some ritualistic practices that we might agree or disagree with. But what's important is the faith aspect of, do you believe that the God, uh, the God, Christ, and the Holy Spirit are the Trinity of our divine Creator? That Christ came down, or that God created the universe, that God created us in His image. That Christ came down, lived a perfect life as a man, was crucified, died as a gesture and as an act to atone for our sins from whatever point to now, and resurrected after 3 days, and that we love Him, acknowledge Him as what He is, and do our best to follow His teachings. These are the important. There we go. These are the important things, and we need to just lift each other up when we're down. So, with that said, get off into social media. As like Fig Newton says, my brain literally hurts, I think is what you meant. My brain literally hearts reading everyone's opinion. I think you mean brain literally hurts reading everyone's opinion. Do online ecclesia count? What is online ecclesia? Fig. Bring this up. All right. While Fig's like, what are we doing? We're going to talk about we're talking about numbers. Oh, what we are doing. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. It might. I think it counts. I think it counts as discipleship. I think it counts as mending fences. I think it counts as many things. I think it's community building, right? And that's what we're trying to do. That's one of the things I like about Eric. When Eric comes on, he says, hey, this is church to me. This is the fellowship. This is us discussing Christ. This is us discussing Christ in a way that can reach other people, and that they can participate, and that maybe they have questions. That's church. And to a big degree, I agree with him, because he and I think, come from a very similar perspective. Getting spiritually fed by communing with other people in the name of Christ, and discussing Him, and just like that, like I said, communing with them, with each other. That's how we get spiritually fed. Some people get it through just listening to sermons and concentrating and pondering what's discussed. Some people get spiritually fed through praise and worship. It just whatever gets you in that zone where you're ready to accept Christ. And we have different personalities. We all have different personalities, so we all get there a little bit differently. So, all right, tonight let's get through this. It's kind of like one of those things where I want to get through this so we can get um, back to the narrative, back to the real reactionary. We're getting water from the rock. Oh, that'll be tomorrow, so that'll be good. A little sad, I guess, but here we go. All right, the budding of Aaron's staff. So we've just left the rabble rousers that have just been smashed by God, and now we're going to talk about Aaron's staff and all and now for something completely different, as Monty Python said. Chapter 17. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and get 12 staffs from them, one from the leader of each of their ancestral tribes. Write the name of each man on his staff. On the staff of Levi, write Aaron's name. For there must be one staff for the head of each ancestral tribe. Place them in the tent of meeting in front of the ark of the covenant law where I meet with you. The staff belonging to the man I choose will sprout, and I will rid myself of this constant grumbling against you by the Israelites." So not completely different. There we go. So God's still talking about still perseverating a little bit over this recent uprising. He's done, right? He's not really done. Thankfully for us, he's not done, because as much as we screw up from the Israelites to us today, we just do it too much. And if you look at the state of just our nation and just our society, there's plenty of grumbling. We've gone, and in many cases, we're past grumbling. We are we have people who are apostates. We have people who are, abuse kids in the name of science. They say what they do it in the name of science. They do it in the name of acceptance and tolerance, but they're abusing kids, and they're abusing the mentally ill, and they're abusing all sorts of things. And it's sad. It saddens me, and I'm sure it saddens God. Anyway, so Moses spoke to the Israelites, and their leaders gave him 12 staffs, one for the leader of each of their ancestral tribes, and Aaron's staff was among them. Moses placed the staffs before the Lord in the tent of covenant law. And the next day, Moses entered the tent and saw that Aaron's staff, which represented the tribe of Levi, had not only sprouted, but had budded, blossomed, and produced almonds. You never go hungry. Then Moses brought out all the staffs from the Lord's presence to all the Israelites. They looked at them, and each of the leaders took his own staff. The Lord said to Moses, Put back Aaron's staff in front of the ark of the covenant law, to be kept as a sign to the rebellious. This will put an end to their grumbling against me, so that they will not die." Moses did just as the Lord commanded him. And God knows this is not going to put an end to their grumbling. They do nothing but grumble. We do nothing but grumble. Like I'm grumbling about the Reds. Israel, I'm not blaming God for it, though. They do. The Israelites said to Moses, "We will die. We are lost. We are all lost. Anyone who even comes near the tabernacle of the Lord will die." Are we all going to die? God said, "This will put an end to their grumbling against me, so that they will not die." Literally 2 verses later, the Israelites said to Moses, "We will die. We are lost. We are all lost." Way to go, Israelites. You got your shot at the title. You are blowing it. But this is the thing. We can go back here. So Aaron's staff buds. Aaron has got to be doing some. The account of Aaron has to be more compelling than this, because Aaron does some serious screwing up. He does some serious bungle. He has some serious bungles, and yet, God continually blesses him with these things. And I don't know. I would love to know the full story and the full story of Aaron and God's plan for him and the point of what God did with him, what it meant. I would love to get somebody on here who really studied Aaron and could give us some real insights if that's even possible. Like somebody who's not just doing conjecture but doing some real study on it. The Lord said to Aaron, "You, your sons, and your family are to bear the responsibility for offenses connected with the sanctuary. And you and your sons alone are to bear the responsibility for offenses connected with the priesthood. Bring your fellow Levites from your ancestral tribe to join you and assist you when you and your sons minister before the tent of the covenant law. They are to be responsible to you and are to perform all the duties of the tent. But they must not go near the furnishings of the sanctuary or the altar. Otherwise, both they will and you will die. They are to join you and be responsible for the care of the tent of meeting, all the work at the tent, and no one else may come near where you are." So he's telling Aaron, look, they are responsible to you. They're responsible to you and are to perform all the duties. But you better keep them on a leash, because if they get too close, they're gonna die and you're gonna die. And you basically, if you bring somebody in, you're vouching for them with your life. You are to be responsible for the care of the sanctuary and the altar, so that my wrath will not fall on the Israelites again. I myself have selected your fellow Levites from among the Israelites as a gift to you, dedicated to the Lord to do the work at the tent of meeting. But only you and your sons may serve as priests in connection with everything at the altar and inside the curtain. I am giving you the service of the priesthood as a gift. Anyone else who comes near the sanctuary is to be put to death. Offerings for priests and Levites. Then the Lord said to Aaron, I myself have put you in charge of the offerings presented to me. All the holy offerings the Israelites give me, I give to you and your sons as your portion, your perpetual share. You are to have the part of the most holy offerings that is kept from the fire. From all the gifts they bring me as the most holy offerings, whether grain or sin or guilt offerings, that part belongs to you and your sons. Eat it as something most holy. Every male shall eat it. You must regard it as holy. Guys only. No girls allowed. This is also yours. Whatever is set aside from the gifts of all the wave offerings of the Israelites, I give this to you, so your sons and daughters as your perpetual share. Everyone in your household who is ceremonially clean may eat it. Look, again with the fringe benefits, right? Lots of responsibility, a little bit of benefit out on it too. You don't have to work. You don't have to really worry about the market side and all the finance side of getting the necessities that you need. It's supposed to be provided to you. God provides it. I give you all the finest olive oil and all the finest new wine and grain they give the Lord as the first fruits of their harvest. All the land's first fruits that they bring to the Lord will be yours. Everyone in your household who is ceremonially clean may eat it. Everything in Israel that is devoted to the Lord is yours. The first offspring of every womb, both human and animal, that is offered to the Lord is yours. But you must redeem every firstborn son and every firstborn male of unclean animals. When they are a month old, you must redeem them at the redemption price set at 5 shekels of silver, according to the sanctuary shekel, which weighs 20 gerahs. But you must not redeem the firstborn of a cow, a sheep, or a goat. They are holy. What about a person? Splash their blood against the altar and burn their fat as a food offering, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Bring me that. Bring it to me. Their meat is to be yours, just as the breast of the wave offering and the right thigh are yours. Whatever is set aside from the holy offerings the Israelites present to the Lord, I give to you and your sons and daughters as your perpetual share. It is an everlasting covenant of salt before the Lord for both you and your offspring. The Lord said to Aaron, you will have no inheritance in their land, nor will you have any share among them. I am your share and your inheritance among the Israelites. Hence, I think this is part of that tradition for priests. At least it makes sense for priests. I don't know if the Jewish people still do it or not, but I know the Christian priests oftentimes, especially when you think of the old friars in the Middle Ages, they just live off of whatever the church gives them. Now we have the Vatican, which is incredibly rich, and we have Kenneth Copeland and Joel Osteen. incredibly rich off of things that they've been given an incredible amount of money and they've spent it on themselves. Yeah, Fig says, I couldn't imagine taking care of the Israelites. They have even tried our Father God's patience, and he has a lot of patience. I know that's the parent thing talking to you, talking about it. Like when my kids test my patience, like earlier, they were down there fighting. They were taking their vitamins right before bed, and you know they couldn't do it without bickering. And me and my wife are in the other room talking, and you hear that, and my daughter goes because either he's picking at her or he's doing something that she doesn't like, and so that she just decides that she just wants to make a big noise. I'm like, go in there. You're both getting punished. I don't care at this point. Just don't care. I don't have the omnipotence as much as I try to give my kids to believe that. I do not have the omnipotence that God has, so I don't know who did the wrong thing. But it's just like your patience is tried. It's like you're both getting punished. One of y'all did something wrong. Both of y'all probably did something wrong. That's it. But we're talking about you know sibling rivalry, sibling just living with somebody. It's difficult. You're going to disagree with them, especially when you're forced together like kids are, and you're still trying to figure out how to behave yourself. But in this case, it's a little bit more serious. We see some pretty serious things. We go all the way back to Sinai, the base of Sinai, and worshiping golden calves. We see it with all the grumbling. We see it with all the whining. We see it with the rebellion. We see it with being scared to go into the promised land because they don't like the walls and the fortifications and how tall the people are. We see it with even after they've been told punished. They said, "Well, you'll provide for us anyway." And this is before they've even set foot in the promised land. We've got an entire Old Testament to go over all the other ways that the Israelites test God's patience, and he just, sometimes, to me, it's more punishment, right? It's not. It's more setting an example. This is what needs to be done. You can't look. You think it's interesting? Everything, a law of the universe is every action has an equal, and every action has a reaction, right? There's a consequence for everything that happens. Some consequences are good, some consequences are neutral, some consequences are bad, and some consequences are dire. And so we've seen that. Miriam got leprosy. There was a plague already. It's not going to be the last plague. It wasn't the first plague. It's not the last plague. But this is the Lord going, look, I give you some rules. I tell you what to do. I give you a sign. I perform a miracle, and this should be it. And then it's just rinse, repeat. Yeah. Yeah, Fig, like it has gotten so bad, God was literally going to wipe them out and start again with Moses. Yeah, he says that it's on Sinai, and that's an interesting point. I don't think you were watching when I went over that. I actually that night that I just did that one chapter of Moses coming down from Sinai. God saying, "You need to go get your boys because they are acting up." I was doing a live stream with my son. He was in a couch in this room just watching because he wanted to see me stream. And so I was going to do my normal three chapters. I didn't even get through that one chapter. I only got through that one chapter. It was a 45 minutes long just rant on how stupid they acted like that. And so my point was God having infinite amount of patience, but anger is, we feel anger. God created us in his image. We feel that anger um in our own lives. He has it too. But at the same time, what is that? Is God intending to put that threat out there because he knows he wants somebody from his chosen people to advocate and to say, no, we can do better. And he knows that Moses is going to do it because Moses is his boy. Or is he legitimately angry to the point where he's going to wipe him out? But he does make a very good point after that. Fig, one of my parts I love the most is he says, look, I'm going to be there. I want to be there with you, But instead, I'm going to send an angel to guide you to the promised land, because if I come down there and stay among you, I'm probably just going to kill you all." And then Moses convinces them to come down, and as soon as he comes down, he starts killing people because they don't know how to act. They don't know how to act. And sometimes it seems heavy-handed to us, and sometimes it seems very justified. The Old Testament ain't a whole lot of there's a lot of wiggle room. We think of the Old Testament as very consequential, and in many ways it is. But at the same time, if you look at some of the actions, that are being performed in the Old Testament, oh, they're pretty egregious. There's a lot of foolishness going on, and God is trying to get these people to understand. So there's what they are. Now, he kills people, he puts them to death, or he causes them to die in whatever faction. But we don't know that they went to hell because of it. Maybe just the punishment was death. I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because what we see is a lot of just dumb decisions that the Israelites make as a whole. Moses is, like I said, Moses is a hero in the Bible. He is one of the top, if not the top guy. Somebody shared a passage that I'd forgotten about it, or said that at some point in Christ says that John the Baptist is the greatest man who ever lived. So, I mean, John the Baptist is a big guy in my book, so maybe he's up there. But man, just on what Moses has to endure alone with this, I mean, he's way up there on the food chain, if not at the very top of it, of righteous people. But even he has a flaw, a couple of flaws. Like, it depends on if you want to count the murder of the Egyptian against him or not. All right, so let's see. All right, going back to verse 21. I give to the Levites all the tithes in Israel as their inheritance in return for the work they do while serving at the tent of meeting. There we go. Fringe benefit. Here's your compensation. From now on, the Israelites must not go near the tent of meeting, or they will bear the consequences of their sin and will die. So, look, this is where your sin is going to. The Levites are there to kind of be the caretakers of that. You don't go near that. The consequences exist there. So if you go near it, you die. Where was it? Oh, it is the Levites who are to do the work at the tent of meeting and bear the responsibility for any offenses they commit against it. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. They will receive no inheritance among the Israelites. Instead, I will give to the Levites as their inheritance the tithes that the Israelites present as an offering to the Lord. That is why I said concerning them, they will have no inheritance among the Israelites. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Levites and say to them, when you receive from the Israelites the tithe I give you as your inheritance, you must present a tenth of that tithe as the Lord's offering. Your offering will be reckoned to you as grain from the threshing floor or juice from the winepress. In this way, you will present an offering to the Lord from all the tithes you receive from the Israelites. From these tithes, you must give the Lord's portion to Aaron the priest. You must present as the Lord's portion the best, holiest part of everything given to you. As one should." Say to the Levites, when you present the best part, it will be reckoned to you as the product of the threshing floor or the winepress. You and your households may eat the rest of it anywhere, for it is your wages and your work at the tent of meeting. By presenting the best part of it, you will not be guilty in this matter. Then you will not defile the holy offerings of the Israelites, and you will not die. Fig says, Moses was so great, Elijah pretty much became a Moses scholar hundreds of years later. Yeah, the great Elijah too. Can't wait to get to him. Elijah and Elisha, both of them. All right, final chapter tonight, Numbers 19, the water of cleansing. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "This is a requirement of the law that the Lord has commanded. Tell the Israelites to bring you a red heifer I'm assuming he's talking about a cow, an actual cow, and not just some thought. A red heifer without defect or blemish that has never been under a yoke, which makes that comment even funnier. Give it to give it to Eleazar the priest. It is to be taken outside the camp and slaughtered in his presence. Then Eleazar the priest will take is to take some of its blood on its finger and sprinkle it 7 times towards the front of the tent of meeting. While he watches, the heifer is to be burned, its hide, flesh, blood, and intestines. The priest is to take some cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet wool and throw them onto the burning heifer. Maybe the heifer is a witch. After that, the priest must wash it. That's not funny. That shouldn't be funny. After that, the priest must wash his clothes and bathe himself with water. He may then come into the camp, but he will be ceremonially unclean until evening. The man who burns it must also wash his clothes and bathe with water, and he too will be unclean until evening. Yeah. A man who is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and put them on a ceremonially clean place outside of the camp. They are to be kept by the Israelite community for use in the water of cleansing. It is for purification from sin. The man who gathers up the ashes of the heifer must also wash his clothes. He too will be unclean until evening. This will be a lasting ordinance for both the Israelites and for the foreigners residing among them. All right, Fig, that's body positivity. We're not shaming heifers here. Whoever touches a human corpse will see. We go right from the heifer to talking about human corpses. This is where there's confusion, right? And maybe I'm just being stupid about it. Maybe there's some underlying some underlying point. Whoever touches a human corpse will be unclean for 7 days. They must purify themselves with the water on the third day, and on the seventh day they will be clean. But if they do not purify themselves on the third and seventh days, they will not be clean. If they fail to purify themselves after touching a human corpse, they defile the Lord's tabernacle. They must be cut off from Israel, because the water of cleansing has not been sprinkled on them. They are unclean. Their uncleanness remains on them. This is the law that applies when a person dies in a tent. Anyone who enters the tent and anyone who is in it will be unclean for 7 days. And every open container without a lid fastened on it will be unclean. Anyone out in the open who touches someone who has been killed with a sword, or someone who has died a natural death, or anyone who touches a human bone or a grave will be unclean for 7 days. This has got to make it difficult on doctors. You got to have their own section, like the medical section of the outside of the tent where they all wait. For the unclean person, of course, a lot of times, I don't know at this point if and I can't remember if when we went past it earlier, but the priests, yeah, there's points where the priests are doing like medical inspections. So that doesn't change the rules. The rules remain the same. For the unclean person, put some ashes from the burn purification offering into a jar and pour fresh water over them. Then a man who is ceremonially clean is to take some hyssop, dip it in the water, and sprinkle the tent and all the furnishings and the people who were there. He must also sprinkle anyone who has touched a human bone or a grave, or anyone who has been killed, or anyone who has died a natural death. The man who is clean is to sprinkle those who are unclean until on the third and seventh days, and on the seventh day he is to purify them. Those who are being cleansed must wash their clothes and bathe with water, and that evening they will be clean. But if those who are unclean do not purify themselves, they must be cut off from the community because they have defiled the sanctuary of the Lord. The water of cleansing has not been sprinkled on them, and they are unclean. This is a lasting ordinance for them. The man who sprinkles the water of cleansing must also wash his clothes, and anyone who touches the water of cleansing will be unclean till evening. Anything that an unclean person touches becomes unclean, and anyone who touches it becomes unclean till evening. A lot of uncleanliness. Cleanliness is godliness, right? This also proves that they knew about diseases thousands of years ago. That's indeed true, Big. And I thought that was one of the things that was kind of, we see bits of insight back then, because we talk about, a lot of this unclean stuff is regards to sanitation, quarantine, and just the overall health, physical health of the community. Because God's not just concerned about our spiritual health; He's concerned about the physical health. Right? It's a society that's been oppressed for and basically enslaved for 400 years, and before that, it was just a couple of a small family line doing whatever, from Aaron to till Joseph and his brothers. going into Egypt. So I don't think there was much established there. There wasn't a societal expectation, and wasn't all the problems that come with the large logistics of that much human presence in a set location. The more people you add, the dirtier it is. And just by look, people get dirty. We do the nasty. We go to the bathroom. We get we sweat from our labors and all that other stuff. So there's a lot of instances before you even add animals and eating animals and other things in there. There's mold from the stuff, and that's what God's talking about. He's setting these standards for sanitation for the health of people, and I think that that's pretty poignant, right? And it comes straight from the mouth of God, and there we have it. So tomorrow we'll be talking about water from the rock, and that is if it is what I think it is, that's a big one, folks. Um, that's a pivotal moment. That's a pivotal moment in the Pentateuch. So with that said, everybody, still no guests lined up until Eric on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday. But today is Tuesday, so next Tuesday. Still no guests lined up. We'll see how that goes, but I will update you if any of that changes. Probably not gonna stream Friday. We might see. My son's got his first soccer practice, and so their practice is gonna be from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and that's gonna be. But I could walk. I can almost walk to practice, so it's not that big of a deal. So I might get back. It depends on what the whole, all the drama involved with all that stuff. So we'll see how that turns out. Anyway, tomorrow we will be reading from Numbers, unless something else strikes my fancy. But that's the plan. In the meantime, all of you guys, love you. Take care. Like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell me how I'm doing. Tell me your thoughts. I don't care. I will respond to you. Just like me and Fig. Fig's doing a good job. He's helping the show. He's a friend of the show. With that said, everybody, have a very blessed evening. Good night. God bless.